Family obligations. His tone made it clear the subject was closed. We all make sacrifices for those we love, don't we? Before Minji could respond, Minseek returned with their first course, delicate scallops nestled on beds of pured cauliflower, garnished with microgreens and truffle oil. The presentation was exquisite, worthy of any Michelin-starred restaurant. Your chef is talented, Minji said after tasting the perfectly seared scallop. He should be. I hired him away from a 3-star restaurant in Paris. Jaehyun watched her appreciatively, though I'd be interested in tasting your cooking sometime. The idea of cooking for him, for this man who could clearly afford the finest chefs in the world, made her nervous. I'm just a line cook for now. His confidence in that statement was puzzling. But you dream of your own restaurant, don't you? Minji nodded, surprised again by how much he knew about her. Someday, when I can afford it. Dreams shouldn't wait for someday, Minji. The intensity of his gaze made her look away toward the darkness of the ocean. Not everyone has the luxury of making dreams reality whenever they want. Perhaps that could change for you. He reached across the table, his fingers tracing gentle patterns on the back of her hand. If you allowed it. The implication was clear, and a mixture of emotions rolled through her: temptation, wariness, excitement. I'm not looking for a benefactor, Jaehyun, and I'm not offering to be one. His fingers stilled against her skin. I'm offering much more than that. The meal continued with course after exquisite course, each more impressive than the last. Throughout dinner, their conversation flowed easily, punctuated by moments of charged silence. Jaehyun asked questions about her childhood in Bizen, her ambitions, her favorite foods, seemingly mundane topics. Yet he listened to her answers with such focused attention that she felt as though everything she said fascinated him. In turn, he shared carefully curated details about himself: his preference for Italian wines, his disdain for technology despite its usefulness, his collection of rare first editions. He spoke of traveling the world but always returning to this coast, which he loved above all other places. What he didn't discuss was his business, his family beyond vague references, or the obvious wealth that surrounded him. Those subjects remained carefully cordoned off, and Minji didn't press. She already knew enough about the Kang name to understand there were questions better left unasked. After dessert, a deconstructed yuzu tart that made her close her eyes in pleasure, Jaehyun stood and extended his hand. Walk with me. He led her down stone steps that wound from the terrace to a private beach cove below the villa. The sand was cool beneath her bare feet. She'd left her heels behind, and the moonlight cast everything in ethereal silver. The security team reappeared, maintaining a discreet distance as they walked along the shore. Do they always follow you everywhere? Minji asked, nodding toward the dark figures standing near the steps. Always. He didn't seem bothered by their presence. A necessary precaution in my position. Because of your business, Minji ventured carefully. Jaehyun stopped walking, turning to face her. The sea breeze ruffled his dark hair and the moonlight carved shadows beneath his cheekbones. Does it bother you? What you think you know about me? She considered the question honestly. I don't know what to think. I know what people say about your family, but I don't know what's true. And if it were all true? His voice remained calm, but she sensed tension beneath the surface. Would you be here with me now? She should have said no. Any sane person would have. But standing there with him, the waves crashing nearby, the memory of his thoughtful questions and genuine laughter still fresh in her mind, she couldn't lie. Yes, I think I would be. Something shifted in his expression, relief perhaps, or satisfaction. He stepped closer, one hand coming up to cup her cheek gently. You continue to surprise me, Lee Minji. His touch was gentle, but she could feel the leashed power in his hand. This man could break her if he wanted to, physically, financially, emotionally. Yet something told her he wouldn't, at least not intentionally. Is that good or bad? She asked, breathless from his proximity. Very, very good. His thumb brushed across her bottom lip softly. May I kiss you, Minji? The formal request, so at odds with his commanding presence, made her heart flutter wildly. Yes, she whispered. His lips met hers with surprising gentleness, a question rather than a demand. Minji responded instantly, her hands finding their way to his chest, feeling the solid warmth of him through the fine fabric of his shirt. The kiss deepened naturally, his arm wrapping around her waist to pull her flush against him. She was lost in the sensation, the taste of him, when a sharp noise of car doors slamming somewhere above them broke the spell abruptly. Jaehyun pulled away slightly, his breathing as uneven as her own, but his eyes immediately scanning their surroundings with practiced vigilance. One of his security men was approaching rapidly. "Sajing-nim, there's a situation that requires your attention." Jaehyun's expression hardened instantly, the tenderness she'd glimpsed vanishing behind a mask of cold authority. "Take Miss Lee back to the villa. I'll join her shortly, Jaehyun," Minji questioned, suddenly uneasy. He turned back to her, his features softening slightly. "It's nothing for you to worry about. Business that can't wait, unfortunately. Go with Taejun. He'll see that you're comfortable until I return." Before she could protest, he pressed a swift, hard kiss to her lips and then was striding away, already pulling a phone from his pocket. Taejun materialized at her side, respectfully offering his arm to escort her back up the cliff path. In the villa, Min-sik served her another glass of champagne in a luxurious sitting room, then discreetly withdrew. Minji sank into a plush sofa, her mind replaying the kiss, the abrupt interruption, the immediate change in Jaehyun's demeanor. What kind of business demanded his attention at this hour on a Saturday night? She knew the answer, or at least she thought she did. The Kang family hadn't made their fortune through entirely legal enterprises, if even half the rumors were true. Minji wandered the room restlessly, champagne in hand, examining the artwork on the wall's original pieces. She was certain, by masters she recognized. On a side table sat a collection of framed photographs. Curious, she moved closer. Most showed a younger Jaehyun with an older man who shared his strong jawline and penetrating gaze. His father, she presumed. In one, they stood on the very terrace where she'd dined tonight, arms around each other's shoulders, both smiling genuinely. Another photo caught her attention. Jaehyun, perhaps in his early 20s, with his arm around a beautiful dark-haired woman. They were dressed formally, her in a stunning red hanbok, him in a traditional jurumaji. The way they looked at each other spoke of deep affection, of history. An unexpected pang of jealousy shot through her. Who was she? An ex-girlfriend? Someone still in his life? "My sister, Soyoung." Minji jumped, nearly spilling her champagne. Jaehyun stood in the doorway, watching her with an unreadable expression. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I didn't mean to pry." He crossed the room to stand beside her, picking up the photograph carefully. "No need to apologize. This was taken at her engagement party 5 years ago." A shadow crossed his face. "She lives in Milan now with her husband and their son." "You miss her," Minji observed, hearing the wistfulness in his tone. "Every day." He set the photo down carefully. "She's the only family I have left. And your father?" Minji asked softly, nodding toward the other photographs. Jaehyun's expression closed off slightly. "Passed away 3 years ago. Heart attack." He took the champagne flute from her hand, setting it aside before capturing her fingers in his. "But I didn't come back to discuss my family. I came to apologize for the interruption. Is everything okay?" Minji ventured. "Your business, is it handled?" "Handled." His tone made it clear the subject was closed. "And now I can focus on what's truly important tonight." His eyes traveled over her possessively. "You." The intensity of his gaze made her shiver. "It's getting late," she said, though she made no move to pull her hand from his. "Perhaps you should have Taejun drive me home." "Stay." The single word hung between them, fraught with meaning. "Jaehyun, not for that," he clarified, though the heat in his eyes suggested that wasn't far from his mind. "It's a long drive back to Seoul, and it's already past midnight. Stay here. The villa has 6 bedrooms. You can have whichever one you choose." The offer was tempting. The thought of returning to her small apartment after this night of luxury and moonlight kisses held little appeal. "And yet I don't have anything with me. No change of clothes, nothing." His smile was confident, as if he'd expected this objection. "The master suite has a dressing room fully stocked with everything you might need. I keep it prepared for unexpected stays." The implication that other women had unexpectedly stayed here sent another jolt of jealousy through her. Jaehyun must have read it in her expression because he pulled her closer, his free hand tilting her chin up gently. Don't misunderstand me, Minji. I've never brought anyone else here. This place is private, special. His thumb traced her jawline softly. Like what's happening between us. Minji searched his face for signs of deception but found only sincerity and that now familiar intensity that made her pulse quicken. One night, she conceded, his smile was triumphant. I'll show you to your room. He led her through the villa to a wing she hadn't seen before, eventually opening double doors to reveal a stunning suite. A massive bed dominated the space, draped in crisp white linens. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased a moonlit ocean, and a fireplace crackled with welcoming flames. This is the master bedroom, Minji realized aloud. The best room in the house, he confirmed without hesitation. Nothing but the best for you, Minji. He showed her the adjoining dressing room where clothing in various sizes hung in perfect order, and the marble bathroom with its deep soaking tub and shower large enough for several people. Everything you need should be here, he said, leaning against the doorframe as she explored the luxurious space. If not, just call for Minseek. Minji turned to face him, suddenly aware that they were alone in his bedroom, the massive bed just feet away. And where will you sleep? There are other bedrooms, he said, though his eyes told a different story. Unless you'd prefer I stayed. Her face flushed at his directness. I think separate rooms would be best, for tonight. For tonight, he repeated, a promise in the words. He pushed off from the doorframe and approached her slowly, like something powerful and patient. But his touch when he reached her was gentle, his fingers skating along her bare shoulder, up her neck to cradle her face tenderly. Sweet dreams, Minji. His kiss was brief but intense, leaving her breathless when he pulled away. At the door, he paused, looking back at her with an expression she couldn't quite decipher. Lock this behind me, he instructed, his tone suddenly serious. Don't open it for anyone but me. The second reminder about locked doors in as many days. Are you expecting trouble? Something flickered in his eyes. No, but in my world, it pays to be cautious. After he left, Minji did as he asked, turning the heavy lock with a decisive click. Alone in his bedroom, surrounded by luxury that spoke of unimaginable wealth, she finally allowed herself to consider exactly what she was doing. She was in the home one of many, apparently of Kang Jae-hyun, a man whose family name was whispered with equal parts fear and respect throughout Seoul. A man who traveled with armed security, who received urgent business calls late at night, who spoke of caution and locked doors. A man who kissed her like she was essential to his existence, who looked at her like she was precious, who treated her with a care and attention she'd never experienced before. As she slipped between sheets that probably cost more than a month of her rent, wearing a silk nightgown she'd found in the dressing room, she knew she should be more afraid than she was. Instead, she felt an intoxicating mix of excitement and anticipation. Whatever Kang Jae-hyun was, whatever dangerous world he inhabited, she was already being drawn into its orbit. And the most unsettling part was that she wanted to be there, wanted to be near him, no matter what might come next. Sleep came surprisingly easily, the sound of distant waves guiding her into dreams of dark eyes and gentle hands, and a life very different from the one she'd always known. Minji woke to sunlight streaming through windows she'd forgotten to close, and the distant cry of seagulls. For a moment, she lay disoriented in the massive bed, the unfamiliar luxuries surrounding her. Then memories of the previous night came flooding back: the candlelit dinner, the moonlit beach, Jae-hyun's kiss. The diamond necklace still rested against her throat. She hadn't taken it off before sleeping. Her fingers touched it absently as she sat up, taking in the room in daylight. It was even more impressive than it had seemed last night, spacious and elegant, with views of the ocean stretching to the horizon. A soft knock at the door made her start. Minji, Jae-hyun's voice, calm and steady. Are you awake? Yes. Just a moment. In the dressing room, she found a simple white robe hanging beside the nightgowns and slipped it on before unlocking the door. Jae-hyun stood in the hallway dressed casually in dark jeans and a light blue button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked younger somehow, less intimidating than in his suits, though no less handsome. His hair was slightly damp, as if he'd recently showered. Good morning, he said, his eyes moving over her in a way that made warmth rise to her cheeks. "I hope you slept well, better than I have in months," she admitted. It was true, the bed had been like sleeping on a cloud, and for once, no worries had followed her into her dreams. "I'm glad." He held out a steaming mug. "Coffee, black with 1 sugar, right?" Minji took it, surprised and touched. "How did I pay attention?" His smile was easy as he leaned casually against the doorframe. "I've had breakfast prepared on the terrace if you're hungry. And there are clothes in the dressing room that should fit you. Take your time, I'll wait downstairs." Before she could respond, he turned and walked away, leaving her staring after him. The quiet comfort of the moment, him bringing her coffee exactly as she liked it. Breakfast waiting felt strangely close, as if they'd known each other longer than just one night. Minji showered in the luxurious bathroom, the multiple shower heads sending warm water from all directions. Afterward, she found a sundress in the dressing room, pale blue linen, simple yet elegant. It fit perfectly, as did the delicate sandals she discovered nearby. She wondered if this was coincidence, or if Jaehyun had somehow anticipated her size in advance. Given what she was beginning to understand about him, she suspected the latter. Downstairs, she followed the sound of soft music to the terrace where they'd dined the night before. In daylight, the view was even more breathtaking, blue waters stretching to the horizon, the cliffs falling away to the private beach below, lush gardens flowing down the hillside. Jaehyun stood at the stone railing, looking out at the ocean. He turned at the sound of her footsteps, and something in his expression as he took her in made her breath pause. Admiration, yes, and something deeper. "The dress suits you," he said, approaching to take her hand gently. He lifted it briefly, his eyes still on hers. "Though I find myself especially fond of seeing you with the necklace." His glance at the diamonds she still wore made her feel shy. "I should have taken it off before sleeping." "No," he said quietly, his thumb tracing small circles on her palm. "I like seeing it on you. I like the idea that you kept it close even while you rested." The simple words carried a quiet intensity that made her heartbeat quicken. This man, confident, composed, and commanding in his own way, wanted his gift to remain with her, even through the night. Breakfast was laid out on a table beneath a pergola draped with wisteria. Fresh fruit, pastries still warm from the oven, eggs prepared several different ways, and a carafe of freshly squeezed orange juice alongside the coffee. It was a spread worthy of a luxury hotel, yet they were the only ones there to enjoy it. "You must think I'm trying to impress you," Jaehyun said, noting her expression as he held her chair. "Aren't you?" Minji countered, settling into the seat. His laugh was genuine, perhaps a little. "Is it working?" She allowed herself a small smile, perhaps a little. They ate in comfortable silence for a while, the ocean breeze ruffling the tablecloth. Minji was conscious of his eyes on her, watching as she savored the perfectly prepared food. "What would you like to do today?" he asked eventually. "We could take the boat out if you'd like to see the coastline from the water. Or there's a lovely town about 30 minutes from here with excellent shopping." Or, his smile turned mischievous, "We could just stay here. The villa has many amenities." Minji set down her coffee cup, reality intruding on the dreamlike quality of the morning. "I should actually get back to Seoul. I have the evening shift at Amor. Call in sick." She blinked at his casual suggestion. "I can't just call in sick because I want to spend the day on a boat." "Why not?" He seemed genuinely puzzled. "Surely you've earned a day off." "That's not how it works for most people, Jaehyun. I need that job. I have rent to pay, bills. I could take care of all of that for you." He said it casually, as if offering to pick up a check for lunch. "You wouldn't need to worry about money again." The offer hung in the air between them, tempting and dangerous. "I barely know you. You know the important parts." He reached across the table, taking her hand again gently. "I'm not suggesting you quit your job today, Minji. Just that you allow yourself one day of pleasure without worry." "Is that so terrible?" Put that way, it was hard to refuse. And the truth was, she didn't want to leave this beautiful place, this bubble of luxury and attention where Jaehyun made her feel like the most important person in his world. "One call," she conceded. His smile was triumphant as he handed her his phone. To her surprise, Chef Park didn't argue when she called in. In fact, he was almost obsequious, assuring her it was no problem at all and to take all the time she needed. She handed the phone back to Jaehyun, suspicion growing. "Did you speak to him before today?" Jaehyun's expression gave nothing away. "I may have mentioned that I'd appreciate his flexibility regarding your schedule." "What does that mean?" "It means," he said, rising from his chair and coming around to pull her to her feet, "that you're free to enjoy the day without worry. Now, about that boat." The boat turned out to be a sleek yacht moored in a private dock below the villa. Taejun and another security man Minji hadn't met accompanied them, maintaining a discreet distance as Jaehyun helped her aboard with natural grace. "Do you sail?" he asked, leading her to the upper deck where a captain waited respectfully. Minji laughed. "Do I look like someone who knows how to sail a yacht?" "You look like someone who could do anything she set her mind to." His hand rested possessively on her lower back. "But today, you can just relax. Captain Lee will handle everything." The day passed like a beautiful dream. They cruised along the coast, Jaehyun pointing out other properties he owned, secluded coves where he sometimes swam, a lighthouse he'd had restored just because he admired its architecture. He spoke of the coast with genuine love, his knowledge of its history and geography revealing a connection to this place that went beyond mere ownership. They stopped in a private cove for lunch, which was served on the deck by staff who seemed to materialize silently from nowhere. Afterward, Jaehyun suggested swimming, producing a selection of swimwear from a cabinet that, like the dressing room at the villa, seemed prepared for any eventuality. "Do you always keep women's swimsuits on your yacht?" Minji teased, selecting a modest black one-piece. His eyes darkened slightly. "As I told you last night, Minji, I've never brought anyone else here. This is new for me too." The simple admission, delivered with unexpected vulnerability, caught her off guard. She retreated to a cabin to change, her mind spinning with implications. If he was telling the truth and something in his expression made her believe he was, then whatever was happening between them was as unusual for him as it was for her. Swimming in the crystal clear water, the sun warm on her skin, Jaehyun's strong arms occasionally brushing against hers as they floated together, Minji felt herself falling deeper under his spell. He was attentive, intelligent, genuinely interested in her thoughts and dreams. When she spoke of her ambition to own her own restaurant someday, he asked insightful questions about her vision, her preferred cuisine, how she would design the space. "You could do it now, you know," he said as they lounged on the yacht's deck afterward, the sun beginning its descent toward the horizon. "Open your own place. There's a location in Gangnam that would be perfect, a former bistro with an excellent kitchen already installed. It's been vacant for months." Minji sat up, pushing her damp hair from her face. "How do you know about that?" "I own the building." He said it casually, his eyes half closed against the sun. "You own half of Seoul," she muttered. He chuckled. "Not quite half. A significant portion, though." He reached out, his fingers tracing a drop of water down her arm slowly. "The space could be yours. Renovated however you like, ready to open within a month." The offer was so tempting that for a moment, she couldn't breathe. Her own restaurant, her dream suddenly within reach. But reality quickly reasserted itself. "I can't afford to lease a space in Gangnam, let alone renovate and staff a restaurant." "I'm not talking about you leasing it." His eyes opened fully now, focused on hers with that intense gaze that seemed to see right through her. "I'm talking about giving it to you." Minji stared at him. "Why would you do that?" "Because I can." He sat up, moving closer until his face was inches from hers. "Because I want to see you succeed. Because you have extraordinary talent that's being wasted at Amor." His hand came up to cup her cheek gently. "Because I want to see you smile the way you're smiling right now at the mere thought of it." Her heart raced. No one had ever believed in her like this, offered her something so perfectly aligned with her dreams. It was overwhelming and suspicious. "What would you want in return?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. His thumb brushed over her bottom lip softly. "Just you, Minji. Your time, your attention, your trust." "My trust," she repeated, searching his face. "That's a lot to ask from someone in your position." Understanding flickered in his eyes. He knew exactly what she was asking. "I would never hurt you, Minji, never betray your trust. What I do, Who I am, that part of my life would never touch you. Can you really promise that? Instead of answering, he leaned forward and kissed her. Unlike their first kiss on the beach, this one held nothing back. His lips claimed hers with passionate intensity, his hand sliding into her hair to hold her in place as his mouth moved over hers with purpose. Minji responded with equal fervor, her arms wrapping around his neck, her body arching toward his. When he finally pulled away, they were both breathing hard. I can promise to protect you, he said, his voice rough with desire. With everything I have, with my life if necessary. The vehemence in his voice should have frightened her. Instead, it sent a thrill of dark pleasure through her. This powerful, dangerous man was offering her not just material things, a restaurant, financial security, but his protection, his focus, his devotion. I don't need your protection, she said, trying to maintain some semblance of independence despite the way her body still hummed from his kiss. His smile held no humor. Everyone needs protection in this world, Minji. You just haven't realized it yet. They returned to the villa as the sun was setting, casting golden light across the cliffs. Despite her protests that she needed to return to Seoul for work the next day, Jaehyun convinced her to stay for dinner. One more meal, he'd said, his fingers entwined with hers. Then I'll have you driven back tonight if that's what you truly want. She agreed, telling herself it was the promise of another exquisite meal rather than the reluctance to leave his side that swayed her. While Minji showered and changed into a simple black dress she found in the seemingly endless dressing room, Jaehyun took a business call. She could hear the low murmur of his voice from the bedroom, his tone different from when he spoke to her, harder, more commanding. A reminder of who he really was outside this romantic bubble they'd created. Dinner was served in a different location this time, a more intimate setting in a glass-walled room that jutted out over the cliff edge, giving the impression of dining suspended above the sea. Candles again, soft music, white roses. Jaehyun waiting for her with that now familiar look of appreciation and hunger. The conversation flowed as easily as the wine, but there was an undercurrent of tension between them now, a sense of decisions pending. Minji hadn't given him an answer about the restaurant, and he hadn't pressed, but the offer hung between them, tantalizing and complicated. Come back to Seoul with me tonight, she said impulsively as dessert was served. See my world for a change. Surprise flickered across his face. Your apartment? She nodded. It's small and nothing special, but it's mine. I want you to see it, really see it. Not just a quick impression you got yesterday. If whatever this is between us is going to continue, you should know me. The real me. Not just who I am when surrounded by all this. She gestured at the luxury enveloping them. Something softened in his expression. I'd like that. After dinner, while arrangements were being made for their return to Seoul, Minji wandered onto the terrace for one last look at the moonlit ocean. The night was clear, stars scattered across the velvet sky, the sea a dark shifting presence below. She sensed rather than heard Jaehyun join her. His arms slipped around her waist from behind, pulling her back against his chest protectively. She leaned into him, allowing herself to enjoy the solid warmth of him, the sense of security his embrace provided. Thank you, she said softly. For what? For this weekend. For showing me all of this. She gestured at the magnificent villa, the stunning view. It's been like living in a dream. His lips brushed her temple gently. It doesn't have to end. Minji turned in his arms to face him, placing her palms against his chest. Reality is waiting for us in Seoul. My job, your business. We can't stay in this bubble forever. No, he agreed, his hands settling on her hips. But we can create new bubbles. Moments like this. Spaces where it's just us. His eyes searched hers intently. If that's what you want. What about what you want? She countered. You're offering me so much, Jaehyun. A restaurant, protection, these incredible experiences. What do you get out of this arrangement? A shadow crossed his face. Is that how you see it? An arrangement? I don't know what to call it, she admitted honestly. We barely know each other. I know enough. His hands tightened on her hips, drawing her closer. I know you're unlike anyone I've ever met. I know you challenge me, surprise me, make me want to be different. Different how? He hesitated, something vulnerable flickering in his eyes. Better, perhaps. More worthy of someone like you. The admission stunned her. This man, powerful, wealthy, commanding, thought he needed to be worthy of her. Before she could respond, one of his security men appeared at the terrace entrance respectfully. The cars are ready, Sajangnam. Jaehyun nodded, his expression closing off slightly. We'll be right there.